We organized a protest in front of the consulate of Azerbaijan. We worked for NKR recognition, both in a public manner and privately, I would say. We have an annual coat drive with a focus on Gyumri for this year, and we run different public relations campaigns. For me, it has been always about figuring out the youth. I've always learned, I always try to read about them, talk to them, and find out what makes them do work. Not just make them do work, but do so freely, which is even more difficult. And that's something that we've always, I guess our community has always asked itself, and we try time and time again to do so. I don't think this is a easy question to answer. For us, there are many challenges. First and foremost, as some of my co-presenters mentioned, lack of interest among youth. That is the biggest and most, I guess, important question or challenge that we deal with. The next challenge is the lack of information. We try, and we have tried very hard, and I will be talking about social media. Lack of information among the youth is not their fault. I cannot stress that point enough. I do not think that our community is doing enough to reach, our organization are not doing enough to reach out to the youth. We have amazing newspapers, but unfortunately these newspapers are read by only a handful, few thousand people. They are still important. I'm not questioning their importance. However, there are many other means that can be utilized to reach out to the youth. Social media, again, is one of those methods. The next question, I guess the first three are problems among the youth, and the next two are the problems that our organizations, and maybe even our organization has a problem with, unwillingness to pass on the torch. Please do not be offended. This is not directed towards any organization. I believe almost every organization is guilty of that. And I did put in the chair on purpose.
What's that?
It's a king's chair. We, time and again, the leaders of our organizations forget that there's a time that they need to give up power. And again, I'm not offending anybody, I hope, but there comes a time that based on our responsibilities, based on age, and all the respect to our wise and Alipsak Tarikavurne, but there comes a time that we need to allow the youth to be involved and take on the responsibility.
Passing of the torch.
Thank you. I completely, again, I can't stress this point enough. Please understand, we have amazing next generation, members of the next generation. We have amazing youth who are educated, they're resourceful, and they need to be involved. They want to be involved, and unfortunately at times they cannot. The next issue is the difficulty of coming into terms with communities' new realities. I do understand that traditionally the community has been made up of Arab Madahir. Now, again, this is a very painful topic, and that's a topic that Unified Young Armenians has been able to, I guess, we are 90% of our members are from Pakistan. This usually does not happen in any organization. That's something that I'm extremely proud of, but at the same time, I do think that there are other venues, some of your organizations, that needs to open its door and be more welcoming. And at the same time, the community needs to understand some of the realities of the organization work. So it's a two-way stream, and I'm not criticizing anybody. But that's one thing that we need to also be aware as a challenge. I think we do have a difficulty in setting up our national goals. Some of the more difficult work, that's the intellectual work that has been done through our newspapers, does not disseminate to our youth. So do not expect that whatever you're writing in the newspapers, the young people have to already know it immediately and use it in their lives. Recognition of the Armenian genocide, that has been the chief goal of the both monetary, moral, and territorial. That's my personal opinion. People may differ, but again, we do not have to agree on everything. Securing the future of the Armenians in the Middle East. The events in Syria and Iraq proved us that we need to talk about this, and we need to talk about youth about these issues. Maintaining our national identity in the diaspora. That is what our educational organizations, our schools are for, our newspapers are for, and that's something that, again, we need to open up that path for young people. Assist Armenians in Java. I do understand that some of the organizations that are part of this coalition are doing amazing work in Java, and my hat's off to them for doing that. We need to assist Armenia financially, and not only financially. I understand that some of the complaints that our more traditional entities do have, that they
Teach
only.
them how to fish.
I'm sorry?
Teach them how to fish. Don't give them the fish.
And at times give them the fish when it's absolutely necessary. The brain power, again, it's a very important aspect of it. And also democracy. I do understand we all have different, when it comes to politics, we have different ideas about Armenia, but that's something that we need to also be thinking of. Improving the capacity of the diaspora to act. That is something that we have talked about, and involving the youth also helps us improve that capacity. The biggest challenge is probably to remain relevant, and that is even more important when it comes to the post-centennial for many organizations. Many of our organizations are trying to find new venues of activism, to say the least, and that's something that we need to be wary of. And we need to also be able to incentivize the involvement. We always talk about Hye Geen. That is something that is incentivized among them, among Hyeas. I worked with Center for Jewish Studies at UCLA. Incentivizing is a big, financially and otherwise. And I'm not saying this for myself, but there's a new generation that comes after me that needs to be incentivized. And we need to engage non-Armenians. I hate to say this, but let's cut back on internal consumption. Let's cut back on Nersum Khoser, and not being able to pass on the message to the non-Armenians. I'll skip this probably, but there's many professional, political, charitable, and educational venues of activism for the modern youth. Social media. It's less costly than traditional media, more effective most of the time. It is a major source of information for 16 to 45-year-olds, and it's a very important method of communication and mobilization. Unfortunately, I did not see any social media post about this event. That's just and I am very involved, and I'm the curious type. So, and it's not a major tool for many Armenian organizations. We're still relying on newspapers, and everyone knows my take on the Armenian newspapers. They're great tools, they're amazing, but at the same time, they don't do justice to the work that you do. And also, it's more difficult to have a centralized leadership style, and that's another problem why I believe that some of the Armenian organizations do not want to go to that route. And lastly, I'll cut it short again, trends in activism. We're moving from a collective to individualized, and Armenian to non-Armenian. Basically, our young people are involved in more non-Armenian things today than they were traditionally. There are, again, new organizations, networking organizations are popping out left and right. I would probably know about 20 Armenian networking groups. And from in-person to online activism. That's the armchair journalists. I'm not fond of them. The people that type on social media, it's still good, but then their activism stops. I'm not a fan of those activists, so that's my personal opinion again. I am cautiously hopeful, as cliche that may sound. We have better educated and more resourceful Armenians. They're attorneys, lawyers, doctors, business owners. But at the same time, they're less and less reliant on Armenian organizations. And that causes some concerns for me personally. goal of this post, again, it's not to politicize anything, but at the same time, Gyumri is one of the most important cities of Armenia, and it's undergoing a lot of, to say the least, political upheaval at this point, or because of the killing of a family of 6 by the Russian soldier. I want us to just keep the residents of Gyumri in our hearts, our minds, and in our prayers. And with that, I will finish my presentation. I'm sorry for going over the minute.
Այսօր այս կանը սիրելի հեռուստադիտողներ ավարտվեց մեր այս տեսաերիզի ցուցադրությունը վստահ եմ շատ սիրեցիք ես ինքս անձամբ չափից ավելի սիրեցի այս միջոցառումը եւ ինչպես հաղորդման սկզբում ասեցի մենք ունեինք շատ սովորելիքներ քանի որ մենք օդար ափերում մեծացնում ենք մեր զավակներին եւ ինչու համար չլսել ինչու համար չհետեւել ավելի փորձառուների տված այս խորհուրդներին Այսօր այս կանը բարի գիշեր բոլորիդ մինչ նոր հանդիպում բարի գիշեր